Laudetur Jesus Christus. Praise be Jesus Christ. A warm welcome to all of you joining us by television, by radio, for this Christmas Mass during the night, presided over by Pope Leo XIV here in St. Peter's Basilica. Our television viewers can see these images coming to you live with the entrance procession underway. And preceding this were readings and hymns in preparation for this liturgy. Thaddeus Jones here to accompany you for this evening's liturgy, and thank you for being here with us. Pope Leo standing there before the small throne with the baby Jesus to be unveiled shortly. The liturgy will soon open with the reading from the Roman Martyrology, traditionally known as the Proclamation.
Luna quinta. In numeris transactis seculis a creatione mundi, quando in principio Deus creavit celum et terram, et hominem formavit ad imaginem suam. Per multis etiam seculis, ex quo post diluvium, altissimus in nubibus arcum posuerat, signum federis et pacis. A migratione Abrae, patris nostri in fide, deur caldeorum, seculo 21. Ab egressu populi Israel de Egypto, Moise duce, seculo 13. Ab unctione David in regem, annon circiter 1000. Hebdomada 65, iuxta Danielis profetiam, Olympiade 194.
take over. Okay. Well, that is the last time as the Cardinal Archbishop of New York, Cardinal Dolan, will be saying Midnight Mass. He'll be replaced shortly and go into retirement, which makes me sad. He was a great religious leader. You can see, and that's why we played him walking down the aisle. Natural engagement and love of people, which is the key to any good person. That's constituents, and I don't know.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, peace be with you. A blessed Christmas, everybody. You are at home for Christmas here in America's Parish Church, St. Patrick's Cathedral. We're grateful for your company this evening and the many, many people that watch us. Thanks to the Pix 11, and thanks to our own Catholic channel, Sirius XM 129. Mayor Adams, we're glad you're here, representing the city as well as so many friends and neighbors and dignitaries. Thank you. Yes, come let us adore him. No better way to do that than here at the Holy Sacrament.
How is that?
We might offer it the more worthily. We call to mind our sins and ask.
Shall we call him back?
Yeah.
We got you, Mayor. You're on live.
I'm on live now. There
We're
we
on
are.
live. We got the audio all fixed up.
Everything is
Mayor
all fixed up. There's Ted. Here's me. And Cardinal Dolan is
his last midnight mass
has
Cardinal.
The Cardinal has said his last midnight mass as what we would call the Archbishop of New York. and
That's right.
he will be replaced. I'm not sure exactly when. Usually about 3 or 4 weeks, as the other archbishop has to prepare, obviously, to move. It's quite a shift from Joliet, Illinois, to New York City, and Cardinal Dolan has not yet announced what he is going to do. He continues to leave a very strong mark on New York, not only on the Catholic community. One of the people that he greeted on the way down that Ted and I noticed immediately, he was on the show, I think, last week, Ted, is Rabbi Potasnik. And then at the end of the Mass, which the other night, they had a very long conversation. I didn't think the Cardinal was going to leave. I thought he was going to take him with him. But he's very, very close to the rabbi.
We got to get him on the show, Mayor. I'd love to listen to a conversation between you and the Cardinal.
I'd love to have a conversation with the two of them on.
Yeah,
also,
right.
I mean, they're good pals, and I would think they'd have some very, very interesting observations about the problems of anti-Semitism right now. Meanwhile, as he was doing that, his boss in Rome was saying a Mass calling for justice and peace, and it was significant because it was his first Mass as the pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church, and he's starting to make changes quite carefully and quite gradually. Whatever he turns out to be, it's still hard to tell. Does he fit into that classic conservative reformist? He may not, but he's obviously a very, very careful executive. So Christmas is over. Right, like the English, the 12 days of Christmas. It's coming up, so there's a lot of Christmas to go for a lot of people. Also, we're starting to get ready. In New York, of course, getting ready for New Year's means getting ready for Times Square. The crowd. Goodness, it's very hard to estimate the crowd. I used to let the police about it, and then I would go do my own little checking, and always figured the crowd was around 750, but it could be 1 million. Of course, the weather has something to do with that too, but it goes all the way up from 42nd Street to 59th Street, straight up. So it's quite extensive, and a lot of people are there who can't even see it. Now, something very special is going to happen, which I think is going to be announced this week. I think there'll be a press conference and an announcement of it. For the first time ever, there will be a second ball to drop during the year. It will be on July 3rd, and it will be to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the greatest nation on earth, which is, of course, the United States of America. And it's going to be very interesting to see how that happens and what it means. And will there be people who try to defile it? We'll have to see. It's a ways away. What's on the mind of people? Well, that's the happy news of Christmas. Here's the sad news of Christmas. The war in Ukraine was raging over the Christmas holiday. It was the biggest drone exchange, I think, of the war. The Russians using about 500. I don't know how many. The Ukrainians seem to have better aim. They seem to have better aim, by the way. They're a much more efficient army than the Russian army, which is an army that just throws bodies. Its reputation as a sophisticated fighting force, has suffered terrible damage with this Ukrainian war. I mean, they essentially they just throw bodies into the fray, hoping that they're going to overcome. Looks like they're on their way to kind of having most of that happen. Zelensky today or yesterday made a concession that he might set up a demilitarized zone. Well, the minute you say demilitarized zone, one of the reasons Ukraine is protected is because in Donbass, or that region of Donbass, there is a very heavily militarized zone that virtually seals off Ukraine from years now. They couldn't win it in war, and they wanted it given to them by being bullies. And it looks like that's going to happen. Ukrainians once again pulling a miracle out of the fire, had a tremendous amount of success on Christmas Day and in the day or two period before Christmas in winning back the city of Kupiansk, which is a very, very important railroad hub in western Ukraine. And real simple. The city was under control of the Russians. The city is now under the control of the Ukrainians. It was an embarrassing setback for Putin. They pitched battle, and the Ukrainians decisively won. They took their city back. So they're not sitting by just waiting. They are trying to make a point that if they had to, they could hold. They had the proper support. They could hold out, and they don't have to give in. Russian animals. Now, the Russian attacks have been focused over the last week or so on Odessa, and because it's really remember as much as a couple of weeks ago, Russia was targeting civilians. Now the Russians have even so that the Ukrainian people freeze to death. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians hit him back in Rostov and took out a very large oil refinery. Now, these are starting to mount up. I mean, Russia is taking a real beating in this war. And Zelensky has, I don't know if he's agreed to this or he's Putin has emphasized that the Ukrainian troops have to leave Donetsk. Donetsk is the larger, what would be called an oblast. Now, you would consider that, we would consider that in the United States a state, or we might consider it a county. of Ukrainian territory. One of them, Luhansk, the first one, they've taken it all. Now, that additional 20% that Ukraine is holding is significant, really, because it gives them a margin of protection against invasion. But the one in Donetsk, or the city being Donbass, is critical because that one has been very, very heavily defended, impossible for the Russians to breach, and a cause of not only great frustration, but the cause of great loss. And they have a lot to do with that frustration in this war. So giving that up, if they strategically and over the long term, sort of puts Russia in a very good position for a future attack. And if you look at everything that Russia has proposed, that is exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to weaken Ukraine even more so that an attack in year 2, 3 will be more successful. And this is by getting rid of the Donbass fortifications, for example, by reducing the size of the army, by constricting whatever security arrangements they may have. So we have to be very, very careful that in our desire to have peace, we don't set up just a kind of automatic 3 years and Russia takes over the whole thing. I went back to look a bit at the history, because this is it's so important. Whenever you deal with these issues of foreign policy or these issues that become war, this dispute between Russia and Ukraine goes back to the 900s. Yes, the 900s. A group of Kievan Rus people who are European group known as Kievan Rus founded the city of Kiev. And in this city of Kiev, they converted Kiev to Christianity, and it was the introduction of Christianity into that part of Eastern Europe, including into Russia. Russia would calculate its conversion to Christianity on that colony called Kiev. And from the Russian point of view, so it's a triune Russian, Ukrainians, the Ukrainians from the very beginning, as Kiev or Rus moved to Moscow, and the church moved to Moscow, and the center of the church moved to Moscow, and they took on kind of like different traditions, and they became different language, and the Ukrainians say we're a distinct nation, and this is a 1,000-year-old dispute, and the idea that the Ukrainians at some point in history acceded to this happily is nonsense. In fact, we can go back to 1917 to 1921 when Ukraine fought a bitter war with Russia in order to get rid of them. This is a long time that they have been seeking their independence from an overlord. And then under the communists, the Russian domination of Ukraine, which had existed under the czars, became much more brutal. Because under the czars, there was a certain respect for the strategic advantages of Ukraine, like being the breadbasket of Europe, and also being eventually with the Industrial Revolution, a rather strong industrial country. But they lost the war in 1921, and Lenin and Stalin took over. And then Stalin, realizing he didn't have control over them, decided to instigate an artificial famine called the Holodomor. And there he killed 4 million Ukrainians subdue them and put them under his will. 4.5 million Ukrainians served in the Red Army. And some of the nationalist groups serve with the Germans, which becomes part of the Russian propaganda and lie that the Ukrainians were Nazis. They were not Nazis. They were, in fact, as upset and as resistant to German control as they were Russian control. But it is true that at certain points, like happened with Iran and Iraq, certain Iranians cooperated with Iraq to do away with the Ayatollah. Certain Ukrainians cooperated with the Germans because they felt that Stalin was worse. So, this history is very, very complicated. But here's the point I want to make about it. Ukraine has never comfortably felt they are part of Russia. The Russians say they're Russian. They have for 1,000 years said they're not. I think 1,000 years is enough to establish yourself as an independent country. And therefore, we as the greatest power in the world should deal with this respectfully. Respectful in terms of people's own self-determination. And also respectfully in terms of the fact that we do owe them something, which nobody wants to be reminded of. Under Bill Clinton, we made a promise that we would protect Ukraine against Russian invasion. We broke that promise. There's no way around it, no other way you can say it other than we broke the promise. Fear of nuclear war. Ukraine's not important enough. Our promise isn't important enough. Our word isn't important enough. But whatever it is, we broke the promise. And therefore, we should be working very, very hard so that Ukraine comes out of this with, if not a win, which seems unrealistic, a tie. Not a complete victory for Russia, so that their next invasion can be easier than this one. If we want to continue on our theme of Christmas, the horrible situation in Ukraine. I mean, here are two Christian nations having war over Christmas. Now, Russia is no longer an atheistic communist country. The Russian Orthodox Church is the nation's church. That's an old, very established Christian denomination, as old and as established as the Greek Orthodox. And with the Greek Orthodoxy, although theologically, liturgically, except for language, they're virtually the same. And both share very similar moral beliefs and religious beliefs and theological beliefs as the Roman Catholic Church. Although the big issue, there are others, but the main issue is the sovereignty of the Pope. At one point, and it's probably gone beyond that, the Orthodox communions were willing to accept the Pope as the first among equals, but not the boss. Right? If I can put it in in less religious terms and more terms that we would understand. Before we take a break, I do want to note, and again, I consider this part of the Christmas story too. America is taking up the cause of the Christians that are being slaughtered by the Muslims. We hear a great deal, as we should, about the Muslims' attempt to destroy, wipe out, and create the final solution for the Jewish people, which is horrendous. It's Hitler back and on steroids. But you have to also understand that they want to eliminate Christianity, meaning they want to eliminate it as a religion, and they want to eliminate it as a group of people. And therefore, their slaughter of Christians exceeds by a very large number their slaughter of Jews. And it needs to be addressed. And not hidden away or afraid to talk about it. Or, gosh, if we can't defend our faith, what else are we going to be able to defend? So, President raised this issue about a month and a half ago. A lot of criticism, but he was absolutely right to do it. The killing of Christians in Nigeria. And we conducted a military action there the other day in order to eliminate and reduce that. And I should say, and this is again to the president's credit, with the cooperation of the Nigerian government, which is maybe the most important thing, because if we can get the Nigerian government to get effectively involved, then the Christians will have the protection that they need. Now, what you see in Nigeria is one example of the Muslim slaughter of Christians in Africa. Actions like that within their society. So America's getting involved in and taking up the cause of Christianity is enormously important, as it was with the attack in Syria on ISIS, focusing on trying to eliminate the Christian population there. Once again, we did that with the help of the government of Syria. A lot of questions about Giuliani's government, whether they are for us or against us. In this particular case, they were with us. Whether there's a side action going on or not, which some people that I respect say that there is, although I don't see the evidence of that at this point. On the surface, they cooperated with us and made our action much easier and more successful. So those were two great blows struck for protecting Christians who don't get much protection. Muslims get unbelievable protection. A slight little thing happens to the Muslims, and we have Islamophobia. And the other thing, if you make fun of Muhammad in any way at all, you'll get killed. And which is a matter of historical fact, you're going to get fat. Whereas we want to kill you. I don't know if we made our switch, and we'll find out. Wrote a relatively short comment to New York Post, and police will confront you. No one would believe 20 or 30 years. They felt like 60% against this. To be the biggest defender of this. Truman, Democrat.
were smiling in your sleep.
I know the perfect gift for Christmas. Go to Rudy.coffee. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live on what today is officially the second day of Christmas, right? Today is the second day of Christmas, right? Or known as Boxing Day. When I was a kid, I thought Boxing Day was.
Today is the second day of Christmas,
right?
I read about that recently. So
Christmas was yesterday.
Yeah, Christmas was yesterday, but you're right. But we always these days we celebrate leading up to Christmas, but in reality, in the old days, you're right. Christmas was like a month long.
Oh yeah, leading up to Christmas was very austere. Leading up to Christmas was like Lent. It was Advent.
Right.
People fasted. They didn't eat. They didn't eat for a month. They didn't drink. They didn't have sex. I mean, it was like really very, very austere. And then Christmas Day, starting at about 5 a.m. This is basically an English tradition. Things went wild. There was like 12 days of unrestrained partying, called the 12 Days of Christmas, from which the great carol comes. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. Da, 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 da. Then the second day of Christmas. And so today is the second day of Christmas, but in England, it's also called Boxing Day. Boxing Day, but not that kind of boxing. Boxing like a box, because this is the day that people would return presents. So they'd be walking all around London with boxes, like returning a sweater that's blue to get a sweater that's green, or returning a jacket that's formal to get a jacket that's informal, and he took on the name Boxing Day. I'm pretty sure that's right. So this is a day that we celebrate. But I was talking about Victor Davis Hanson and how Jew hatred has now permeated the Republican Party, and he without much hesitation, he puts the responsibility for that on Tucker Carlson and Candace Owen and a few others, particularly Tucker's very, very honestly corrupt interview of Fuentes. Corrupt in the sense that there are obvious questions that have to be asked of Fuentes, which I don't know. You got to be hiding as some kind of a really double-crossing reporter not to ask the questions. When the man has spent 10 years telling you how much he loves Hitler, how Hitler really didn't start the Second World War, England and France did, that Churchill was really much more evil than Hitler, that the Holocaust was, and we get various versions of that depending on how out of control Fuentes is. Either the Holocaust was greatly exaggerated, somewhat exaggerated, or completely exaggerated, but is used for all base purposes by the Jewish people, even if it did take place. And then, as time has gone by with Fuentes' anti-Semitism, like with Hitler, it kept growing on itself. So by the time you're finished, now the Jews are responsible for every evil in the world. There isn't a single thing they're not responsible for. They control the banks. They control They control the airlines. They control a lot of things that they don't control. They're a very small group of people. They are a very small group of people that have been remarkably successful. Then you get things from Tucker, which Victor points out and raises the question: How can an intelligent man like Tucker say this? Jews have contributed nothing. Israel has contributed nothing. I mean, just the mere wiping out of the air defenses in Iran that made it possible for us to conduct one of the most successful aerial attacks in history, with not a single casualty to America. Dayenu is what Jews would say, like they do for, I think it's for Passover. God led us out of bondage from the Egyptians. Dayenu, that'd be enough. God led us to the land of milk and honey. Dayenu, that would be enough. Well, I mean, Israel destroyed Iran's aerial defense so America could go in and destroy its nuclear capacity without losing a single American life. That's a big Dayenu. Israel is responsible for a disproportionate amount of the technological modern advances in the world. Per capita, it's probably one of the most advanced countries technologically, and they share that with the world. I spent some part of my career after I left being mayor and before now, and I had a worldwide security business, and I spent a lot of time in Israel looking for products for security, and also part of my business was to advise people on the right solutions. And very often I was led to Israel as the place to go for the best and the most effective solutions. This is an enormously productive country for the good. It's also a great ally of the United States. With 2 or 3 more allies like Israel, we wouldn't have to worry so much about Russia and China. And they are there, by the way, potentially, in my mind. Japan is one that could be. Maybe not on this level, but that whole group of countries right south of China, we should exploit their ancient hatred of China. Talking about Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. The Philippines is a country with a lot of problems, but a lot of potential. And I don't know if you know this, but India has started a war on the border of China. So we've seen Modi with Xi Jinping sort of worried that they're going to become palsy-walsy. Not going to happen. The animosity, the long history of hatred and distrust, the long history of major disputes over territory and people, and the horrible way. And I mean, there's no comparison between the Chinese government and the Indian government. The Indian government may have all the problems that any modern government has, and worse. May or may not. I'm not really an expert on the Indian government, but they're not torturing people. They're not ripping hearts out of their bodies and selling them. And they do it with Indians, by the way. I mean, they consider particularly the Indian. There are a whole group of Indians, a large number. Because the numbers in that part of the world proliferate. They're tremendous. I mean, we're always talking millions. There are millions of Indian Muslims. When one of the biggest mistakes in the post-war period, and a mistake that I would have to attribute to my hero, who also wasn't perfect, Churchill, was the idea of dividing India, Pakistan, and creating a religious country. Pakistan is one of the few countries that is for Muslims. The Indians, who no longer wanted to live under Hindu or non-Muslim government, were given a period of time to travel from India to Pakistan, which was carved out of India. And many did. And since then, of course, we've had tremendous difficulties between the two wars, both nuclear powers now, a recent skirmish that Trump settled. And a built-in problem forever, given the teachings of the Muslim religion, which is, and then when you organize as a country under the Muslim religion, that becomes like paramount, which is you've got to spread your religion throughout the entire world, and your relationships with countries that are not Muslim are extraordinarily contentious. I mean, Muhammad teaches you that. I know. Many people are told Muslims are taught to be peaceful, and Muslims are taught to be generous, and Muslims are taught to be, that all got wiped out in the second half of Muhammad's life when he got rejected by the Arabs, the Jews, and the Christians, and he became a monster and left a monster legacy. So this anti-Semitism, which was mostly on the left until a few years ago, is now infecting the right, infecting parts of the Republican movement, whether we call it political or ideological. And there are any number of speculations as to why, of which I have my own, and I think Victor has his, although I don't know that I've seen that Victor has laid them out. He hints at them. And maybe it's because he's not sure like I am. I'm not sure. But I am sure that it's happening. And I find it extremely damaging, not just to my political party, my political ideology, my political beliefs, which all are important, but there's one thing more important than that. And that's my country. This is not an anti-Semitic country. Tucker Carlson and Candace Owen and Nick Fuentes notwithstanding. And I do think that my party, my Republican Party, has stood up better to this. The Democrats didn't say a word about the squad and about all of their anti-Semitic statements and their hatred of Jews and their unwillingness to really condemn October 7. They didn't say boo, including Jewish Democrats like Chuck Schumer, whose approval rating is below 30% now, because he's a traitor. Now, in distinction to that, and although I don't know that there's enough credit has been given for this, or maybe there shouldn't be too much credit. Let me just say it and then explain the qualification on it. Republicans, unlike Democrats, have spoken up against the Fuentes interview, how Tucker Carlson coddled him, the things that some of the others have said. And Republicans of some note have done that. It's not as if, like with the Democrats, people are afraid to say anything. Victor is one of them, for sure. I am one of them. I can think of any number of columnists who are considered right-wing who have done it, are political figures. Has it been as universal as I would like it to be? No. I would like it to be more Republicans and a real understanding that this has to be cut out. This cancer needs to be cut before it spreads, because we have to look at the history of anti-Semitism in the past, including in the last century. And when you let it go, it metastasizes. And it is in the process of doing that right now. And a little more organized stand against it would help. Of course, the best thing that would help, which probably would have happened 40 or 50 years ago, maybe even 30 years ago, would be bipartisan condemnation of it. But that's unthinkable. The Democrats aren't going to join us in condemning anti-Semitism. I don't get it. I mean, a lot of them are even Jewish and they won't do it. And that would nip it in the bud really pretty quickly. And there's no reason that it shouldn't. When we went through the period of trying to get and some degree of success in getting the Jews out of Russia, the Soviet Jewry movement, which was a massive movement. I don't know if you remember that, but it was a massive movement. I participated. I remember a rally on a very cold Sunday in December, and I was walking with Al Gore against anti-Semitism. Well, of course I should be. Al Gore should be against anti-Semitism. He's an American. And I should be. I'm an American. Republicans shouldn't be more against anti-Semitism than Democrats, or vice versa. It's not something that should divide us. But it does. And now we're beginning to have a little seam in our party. And in comparison to the Democrats, we're much better. But there is gaps, and there is a worrisome silence by more than a few people. And I don't know if that is latent anti-Semitism or it's cowardice and fear. These are rather powerful figures in the Republican Party. Tucker has a very large following. I don't know about Candace. She might have blown it because she seems like she's whacked out, particularly on the stuff about the Kirk assassination, which is horrendous. Fuentes is he isn't a clown. You shouldn't call Fuentes a clown. He's a dangerous Nazi. A dangerous guy. If you go take any of his interviews, which I did in my podcast, I probably covered no more than 5% or 10% of what he's done in those podcasts. That's all that I had time for. But you just take that 5 or 10%, and that's quite a history of hatred. And it's very, very powerful hatred that results in action. Now, I have to tell you one thing about my friend Bibi. He doesn't let any grass grow under his feet. While everybody else is putzing around like they can't get an agreement, he's doing everything that he can to make sure that Hamas doesn't reemerge. They are trying, and he's killing them, as he should. He said he's going to get rid of them. He is working out behind the scenes. He's working out much better relationships with Saudi Arabia, with the Emirates, with Bahrain, with another country I'm thinking of. Now, there's something very interesting about that you might not know. You know what they all share in common, the countries I just mentioned? Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the Emirates. They all distrust Qatar. Remember, they almost went to war with Qatar. They blockaded Qatar for a year and a half, meaning Saudi Arabia and the Emirates and Bahrain and maybe Oman too. I think so. But in any event, even though the Abraham Accords haven't become universal yet, like they have not embraced Saudi Arabia yet, and Saudi Arabia wants as a price for it a Palestinian state. That may be tough. I don't think Israel's going to do a Palestinian state. I sure wouldn't. And I don't think, far be it from me to say this to them, I don't think they really want a Palestinian state. So I don't know what the real give is there. None of the Arab countries want a Palestinian state. I'm not even sure Iran wants a Palestinian state. They all distrust the Palestinians because the Palestinians have killed them at one time or another. In the royal family in Jordan, you have Palestinian murders. In Egypt, you have the Muslim Brotherhood that overthrew the last government and would love to take Sisi out. The Palestinians are distrusted and have been considered almost a creation as a people of Arafat. There is no such thing 100, maybe 150 years ago. There is no such thing as Palestinians. There certainly is no such thing as Palestinians in the time of Christ. They weren't a people. There was an area called Palestine. But the people who lived there were many faceted, different people. Not like Syrians, Egyptians, Persians, Saudi Arabians. No such thing as Palestinians. And if you read Arafat, he's very proud of the fact that he made it up. Because Arafat was an Egyptian. And a very crooked one at that. So we're going into the new year with both the Ukraine conflict in ready for a solution, but with obstacles that seem extraordinarily hard to overcome. And you might say that same thing is true about Israel. And we're going at the very end of this year and the beginning of next year. We're going to kind of sum it all up and kind of show you maybe in a podcast what's at stake there and how it can be done. Because I think none of this is certain, and very rarely in foreign policy is anything certain. But I think there's a road to peace in both places, all due to the tremendous ability of the president and his team to not give up. And when one attempt fails, just to move in another direction and see if a different attempt will work. I do not understand, and I'm going to move quickly, so you can all get back to your whatever remains of your holiday festivities. I don't know if you were, but I was really exhausted today. There is a Republican, and he's one of the few Republicans, mostly Democrats, are fighting this, who's fighting the turning over of voting records to the Justice Department. Justice Department has gone to 26 states and wants to see their voting records. Under the National Voter Registration Act of 1993 and the Help America Vote Act of 2002. And they're raising all of these arguments about the privacy of voting records. I do not understand, except for the vote that you cast. What the hell is private about a voting record? I'm registered to vote. I'm registered in a political party. And I don't know, when somebody runs for office, they're always looking at when they didn't vote, right? They're saying Jones is running for Congress and he didn't vote in the last election. Nothing private about that. And we have a very serious problem here.
Right, Mayor. And it's not that they want to know who you voted for, it's whether or not you voted and your registration.
Do you exist?
Right.
Or are you dead?
Right.
You know, Ted, I was really serious. I'm seriously considering for the important 2026 election holding rallies in cemeteries.
Hey, we got to compete with the Democrats. I mean, how did JFK get elected?
Like 10,000 votes to nothing. I mean, we could at least pick up maybe 1,000 2,000 dead bodies, you know?
You would think we got to cut into their, even if we can cut into their the margin there.
India is building tunnels and roads and all of the things that you would expect if you were going to get into a war with somebody right on the border with China. And this is the place where they had a border war in just in 2020. And they have a demarcation line right now, but neither one of them is satisfied with it. And there's been a lot of talk of Russia and China, China and India straighten things out. Yeah, big deal. Straighten things out. I think we still can count India in our camp. Iran is now testing rockets and also working on its not enhancement of petroleum, its enhancement of delivery systems. Bibi looks really anxious to want to stop that early on. And I think that the sooner the better. It'll be less significant, less gigantic, less expensive. Cut them out right at the very beginning. If they've done 2 or 3 of these, set them back again. Just keep doing it. Because you can't take a risk. This country cannot become a nuclear country. It's insane. The Ayatollah is insane. He's religiously insane. Also, I'd be really, really careful in selling which I think we're considering doing. The U.S. is considering doing F-35s to Turkey. I do not, Ted, understand the fascination with Erdogan. He's another one. From the first time I met him, I made him out as a Islamic phony extremist. I don't think he's in the category of a religious zealot. I think this is all been done so that he can be a dictator. I don't think he's any more Muslim than you or I are. But he's got his wife with a whole head. I mean, the thing that got me was back in 2002, 2003, I had dinner at Emmett Erdogan's house with him. And his wife is like you know how they have children's tables for Thanksgiving and Christmas? The children sit at a certain table. Well, the women were sitting at a different table. And they were eating with this. This was a very formal dinner in a $10 million apartment. And they had the thing on, and they're going like this.
Yeah.
They're getting their veil wet with the soup.
Well, Turkey's something like 99% Muslim, right? Still?
It didn't used to be. Well, you know what? It used to be the most moderate, most modern, the most hopeful Muslim country to straighten out the hatred in the Muslim religion, to straighten out the second part of the Quran, in which Muhammad implores them, demands that they participate in jihad, that they kill the non-believers or make them slaves, and also gives them an example of how to do it by being a mass murderer, pedophile, child molester, child trafficker. Great head of a religion. Done a lot better with an organized crime family. Right. The Muhammad organized crime family, Gambino and
right.
There's a medicine. Have you ever heard of this, Ted? Have you ever heard of gabapentin?
I have not. Gabapentin.
Gabapentin is a pain management thing, and it's supposed to be non-addictive. However, turns out that it isn't non-addictive. It is addictive, and it has a tremendously protracted withdrawal period, and it has much more side effects than even the pain medications we get all worried about. And
Yeah.
why the heck Dr. Maria, why are we giving out gabapentin?
It's typically given out in pain medicine clinics or if people have diabetic neuropathy, but I always hated that drug and I never prescribed it because of the bad side effect panel, especially amongst elderly.
So why do they keep it?
I don't know, because we don't have a lot of alternatives for neuropathy.
Yeah, Ted is making a thing like money, 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 money.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I think he's right. Well,
We're gonna tell RFK Jr. and see if he can.
yeah,
do something
yeah. I don't know what their position is on it. It seems strange that they haven't done away with it by now, and there has to be something else. It's like when they say that marijuana sometimes can be the only painkiller. That's ridiculous. I mean, we got painkillers up the you know what. So this is going to be a very nice weekend for football, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty big weekend. Some seeding for the NFL. There's some of the seeding issues, but basically the playoff fields are set, but teams are competing for seeding for the most part. And then college football, there's some bowl games, but of course with the playoffs now, all these bowl games have lost a lot of their luster. And so people are waiting for the next round of the playoffs.
That was an unthought, sort of an offshoot of this system that you didn't realize, right? So if you're going to create this sort of tournament,
right,
for the championship, and these bowl games are not going to be part of that. These bowl games are going to lose a lot of their significance. At best, they're going to be a semifinal match, right?
Right. That's right. So yeah, we'll be watching for some football games and then big college football games. But the playoff games aren't until next week, midweek. Let's see here. So
midweek?
Yeah, so the next round of the playoffs, New Year's Eve, which is Wednesday, and then New Year's Day, which is Thursday. So the next big college football playoff games are not until Wednesday night and then Thursday during the day.
Well, like it used to be all the bowl games on
Yeah, and it still is the bowl games, right? The Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and they actually are hosting these semifinal games.
So Ted, are you invited to Mondami's $3.7 million outdoor party for his inauguration? It'd probably be about.
I was hoping you'd have the hookup, Mayor. I mean, anything in New York, I always come to you.
Invite me? You think I'd be a guest of ours?
Come to you.
I doubt it.
Well, what do you think? Well, that's a good question. Have you gone to?
You really want to have a big feast outside at 5 degrees?
Yeah, that is an interesting choice. But do all the former mayors usually go to these inaugurations?
They're usually invited, but they don't usually go. They did go to mine, but there weren't that many former mayors alive then.
Did you go to? You went to Bloomberg's, obviously, being the outgoing
I went to
mayor.
Bloomberg's first. I didn't have to. I haven't been to one since Bloomberg's first inauguration.
Okay, you were the outgoing mayor at the time.
I may not be the one. I find it impossible to go to an inauguration of a communist. I'm sorry, just not going to happen.
Right.
The Coast Guard is chasing an oil tanker, by the way, which I think is great. We're taking all that oil. That oil is intended for Iran.
That's the last thing I'd want to hear if I were out on the high seas. The United States Coast Guard is coming after you. I mean, there's not many places you can go between them and the Navy. I don't think you're getting away.
Do you think you have to be a registered communist to be invited to Mondani's party? Like have a card that you're a communist and you hate America?
That's a good question, right? We'll see. Is he how devoted he is to the communist teachings, or if he's going to be like the rest of them, or they just use that to to gather power and centralize wealth. In that case, they'll be.
Are all the women going to have be walking around with the things on?
Well, right. I mean, if we're going to respect all customs and such, I think they'd almost be required to. I mean, if you're
Yeah,
not fully
and
covered, then you're that's a act of
if she's
blasphemy.
not keeping up with the husband, then we should be treated to a couple of really good beatings of the women, right?
Well, yeah, you're intolerant of their customs if you say anything.
Yeah,
And
come
we
on.
can't.
I mean, if they want to beat up their wives, I mean, well, that's perfectly. I mean, that's just,
Right.
I mean, let's
Right.
face it. When you have that many wives, you got to keep them under control somehow. You would think
He is married,
you
right?
could
Yes.
keep a 6-year-old wife under control without beating her.
He is married, right? Yeah, he is. Well, we didn't hear much from his
Yeah,
wife on the campaign.
he's married to another. Well, I don't know. I really can't tell. She has a very strange biography, and it's hard to tell. Let's not talk about his wife. It's not nice to talk about wives, particularly when they're subservient, right? What did you think of this guy, Chuck Red, deciding that he wasn't going to perform at the Christmas gala at Kennedy Center, which he's performed at for 10 years with nobody noticing?
I was gonna say who? My first question
Chuck
is who?
Red. You've heard of Chuck Red? Oh, by the way, it's 2 D's.
Never heard of the guy, and you know what? This is the first time I'm hearing about him. Is the year that he's not performing. So
yeah, I mean that's interesting.
That says a lot about this guy's performance, right? Good riddance, Chuck.
I heard the president was just broken.
Oh, I'm sure he was just.
He just couldn't. I mean, it was like he's not going to hear Chuck Red.
My goodness,
said,
Chuck.
I have a feeling what Donald Trump said. Who the F is he?
Yeah, right. I don't know who the hell. I mean, that's the most. I'm sure this is the most publicity this guy has ever gotten. So you know what?
Chuck Red abruptly canceled his annual Christmas Eve concert in protest of the renaming of the Kennedy Center. Well, that's going to really. I mean, that's really big. That's really
a big loss.
Big.
It might as well throw. I mean, so there's no concert, or what happens now? Who was Chuck Red? Was he the composer or director?
No, he's a singer.
He was a singer that has a Christmas Eve or a New Year's Eve concert. I mean, if anything, he's doing us a favor, right? Maybe we can get somebody in. He's doing us all a favor, right?
Since we don't know him, he can't have much talent.
We don't have to worry about any sort of contract.
If he was any good, we probably at least hear about him, right?
Even never heard of the guy.
Yeah.
And on what grounds is he not?
Because Trump changed the name from Kennedy Center to Trump Kennedy Center. You're not allowed to name things for a Republican. Well, you never name anything in New York for me, right?
Well, I was just going to say that, usually you might say, well, maybe, doing something like that while you're the sitting president.
The Democrats were such better mayors than I was. I can understand that.
Well, I don't blame the president for doing this.
I never could possibly have produced a deficit state produced.
Well, right, Mayor, and maybe you should,
the records they have. The most murders in the history of the city, the most violent riots in the history of the city, the only pogrom in America, bankruptcy. Yeah, I mean, they got big records.
You're making a very good, Mayor, and that's a very good point, and it's an unfortunate one because it involves you. But the president doing this, that's the strongest argument in favor of him doing such a thing, is because it won't be done after he's president, because they do not honor Republicans anymore the way that they should. And it just as they've done you so wrong in New York City.
I wish I had thought about it.
I think about it quite a bit.
Rudy Giuliani Yankee Stadium.
Well, I'm thinking I don't know. It's kind of boring getting an expressway, but if you get an expressway or a bridge or an airport, those are the ones that people, your name lasts a lot longer, right? I mean, people LaGuardia.
How about the Giuliani LaGuardia Airport?
Exactly. That's what you should. Why didn't we think of that? You should have done that on your way out of office.
Yeah.
We're renaming it the Giuliani LaGuardia International Airport.
I'd share it with my friend LaGuardia.
You'd want LaGuardia. You wouldn't want JFK because people don't have great experiences at JFK. So
Well, LaGuardia was like sort of a model too for me. So
and LaGuardia, that would make sense. Oh, what? You wouldn't want Newark, but Newark doesn't even have a name. But I'm guessing you don't want to be in New
Newark.
Jersey.
Where's that?
Yeah.
Newark.
To think about that, you got
Newark.
JFK, LaGuardia, and you'd have Giuliani.
Where the heck is Newark? That's like
Yeah, I
in
don't think
Delaware, right?
you would want that.
I think
There's got to be some bridges or tunnels. What about the Holland Tunnel? Is that named after a person, or is that named after the country of Holland?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there was. Maybe Joe Holland was a Democratic district leader who took in a lot of bribes. I don't know. Well, Ted, you have a great weekend. I'll probably see you later in the weekend, right? And
I'll see you. Packers clinched the playoff spot, so I'm not as nervous as I was going to be.
Are they going to be playing this weekend?
They play Saturday night, but it's not as big of a game. We clinched the playoff spot.
No, they got to watch out and not be injured, right?
Yeah, so a lot of our starters are resting.
Well,
and you'll be down here. You'll be back down in Florida.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a chance to see who looks good, and we can start making some picks, right? Because it really depends on who's hot right now.
Right, and then the college football games.
Taylor Swift really ruined the Kansas City Chiefs, huh?
Did you watch them play? Oh, it looked bad last night.
Well, that's what happened. That's what happened. That's what happens when crazy left wingers like that get all involved in a football team, right?
Well, it might be a good lesson, right? Sometimes
very bad karma.
Right. Well, is he distracted, or is this relationship helping him in his professional endeavors, or has this relationship hurt his professional endeavors? But maybe he feels more fulfilled in other areas of life.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's gonna have a lot more money. No, she's just getting ready for a song. You know, we got to go look at her songs. Are her songs about people leaving her or her leaving people? Is she like a big reject?
Or lyrics. I bet you it's a mix. Probably early on it was guys leaving her, but then she became this big famous name.
Yeah, who would leave her? She got all that money, right?
It's her leaving guys, right? It's probably reversed. Maybe she's experienced both.
I understand you dated her for a while, right, Ted?
She's about my age. So that's why I have a hard time criticizing her too much. She is like the celebrity of my generation, right? I think she's 34, about my age.
We're just having some fun.
Well, it is frustrating when these people they don't live normal lives and they tell us how to vote politically as if they can relate with the rest of us.
Well, we're going to get ready next week on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday for New Year's. We'll go over some of the important stories of the year, but more important, I want to look forward next year, next week. It's a good opportunity to look into the next year and to see what we think, you and I, are going to be the big issues that we're going to be confronting. So you guys have a good weekend now, all of you. Pray for Israel and pray for Ukraine. Look what happened to them on Christmas. Oh, pray for Iran, and certainly pray for us, the greatest country on earth, but only with God's help. And pray for our president that he gets God's help, because we all need it, including our great president. So we'll be back on Monday, and anything happens, we'll be there. And we'll let you know about it. There's an awful lot going on in the world. One of these days, we're going to probably hit Iran again. We'll see. Well, God
Merry
bless
Christmas,
America.
Mayor. Merry Christmas, Dr. Maria.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We got plenty of time for Happy New Year next year, but next week. But Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope everyone had a beautiful Christmas, and they're going to have a few more days on the third day of Christmas, fourth day, fifth day. Okay. God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able